If you want to understand how Israel became a sacred symbol in American pop culture and public discourse, don't look at think tanks or lobbying groups. Look at the film credits. As outlined in an analysis titled Hollywood and Israel, a History, co-authored by an Israeli and an American historian, Israel learned early that films could do what diplomacy couldn't: manufacture sympathy, erase context, and turn a political project into a myth. Right after the creation of Israel in 1948, government officials and supporters began actively exploring how the occupation would be depicted in ways that would resonate with Western, especially American audiences. The United States at the time was home to a growing Jewish diaspora, many of whom already had extensive influence in the film industry. And what a fortunate coincidence it was that Hollywood was the beating heart of American culture. In the 1950s, the first wave of films linked to Israel didn't show a modern regime. Instead, they cast Israel as the realization of a biblical idea. Movies like Quo Vadis and Salome situated the Holy Land in antiquity, building emotional bridges with Christian audiences, presenting Israel not as a political entity, but as something sacred, familiar, and even foreordained. At this point, Israeli officials were candid about the need for positive publicity and offered access, financial incentives, and cooperation that made filming attractive. By the 1960s, the narrative began to shift. As Israel became more active in regional politics, it also grew more proactive in storytelling. Israeli officials and military officers started encouraging American actors to visit and shoot films locally. Films like Cast a Giant Shadow and Exodus, based on mega-Zionist Leon Uris's novel, framed Israel as kind of a heroic frontier populated by blonde, blue-eyed Americans, building a democratic outpost in the hostile desert. Arabs, if represented at all, were often portrayed in stereotypical terms, much like indigenous peoples were in early Westerns: primitive, threatening, and mostly expendable. Influential American celebrities were cultivated to promote Israel directly to U.S. audiences. Elizabeth Taylor, Sammy Davis Jr., and Barbra Streisand were among the many stars who became public advocates. Israel was brought into millions of American homes and was celebrated not just as an ally, but as a cause. As American culture evolved, so too did Israel's cinematic image, from biblical homeland to Cold War partner to the frontline warrior in the so-called War on Terror. One of the more striking figures in this history is Arnon Milchan. A former Mossad intelligence operative and arms dealer, Milchan later became a Hollywood mega-producer behind films like Heat, Fight Club, JFK, and, ironically, 12 Years a Slave. According to the book, Milchan used his influence to promote favorable portrayals of Israel, connect Hollywood power players with Israeli officials, and discourage criticism of Israel behind the scenes. Through Hollywood's lens, Israel became a brave little democracy surrounded by hostile neighbors. Never mind that it was built atop the ruins of destroyed Palestinian villages. Never mind the hundreds of thousands of Palestinian refugees forced from their homes during the Nakba of 1948. These stories didn't fit the script. Hollywood's early ties to Israel gave cover to policies of ethnic cleansing, apartheid, and occupation, long before those words made headlines. By turning a colonial settler project into a feel-good underdog story, American film helped normalize the erasure of Palestine. Hollywood helped build the myth of Israel. And now, my friends, it's time we start dismantling it with facts, with history, and most of all, with the voices of Palestinians who've been silenced for far too long.